Good morning to the Bermuda public and members of the media. I'm here today to provide you with an overview of the Ministry of Transport's plan for budget year 2021-2022, and to demonstrate how the Ministry of Transport seeks to fulfill its mission of transporting people and goods efficiently and safely during these challenging times. I want to first of all thank the department heads, the Ministry of Transport staff, and all those who work tirelessly to ensure that we come up with an outcome that best supports our community. 2020 was a challenging year for many of us, and at the Ministry of Transportation, we were not exempt from the impacts of COVID-19. Not only did we have to shift the way we approached the transportation issues facing the public, but we had to adjust how we solve these problems. I'm proud to say that we have endured and looked to build a foundation that will provide a consistent, reliable, and sustainable service. For fiscal year 2021-2022, the Ministry of Transport has received a budget allocation of $59,104,000. Last year's budget was a total of $101,806,000. The Ministry's budget for the following departments is as follows. Ministry of Transport Headquarters, $15,504,000. Transport Control Department, $4,496,000. Department of Public Transportation, $19,532,000. Marine and Ports, $19,572,000. The total savings or reductions for the new fiscal year is $6.7 million from the defunding of vacant posts and operating costs. During this challenging fiscal year, the ministry has done its part to provide funding to support other government initiatives and programs such as seniors, young people, and scholarships. Taking a look at the Ministry of Transport headquarters, the ministry anticipated a reduction in the headquarters budget of $22.8 million. As such, this year's budget does not include funding for the Bermuda Tourism Authority grant and regulatory and policy and hotel administration, which have been transferred to the Cabinet Office. The remaining $824,000 decrease was achieved by reducing professional services, travel and training, and the Bermuda Airport Authority grant. However, we still have a focus on land and air opportunities. There will be an increase in air service development with the Bermuda Airport Authority's joint initiative with the Bermuda Tourism Authority. This will see us engaging more with jet setters and providing new opportunities via air service. As part of the Air Service Development Committee, we will explore opportunities for air service with the Caribbean through Caribbean Air to tap into the Caribbean region. We will also work with SATA, otherwise known as Azores Airlines, to transition the current charter flight between Bermuda and the Azores to a seasonally scheduled weekly service. This flight will not only serve the underserved, but will also provide residents with additional options for traveling to European destinations. For a long time, we as a country have struggled to find a balance between cruise ship arrivals and air visitors. The Ministry of Transport will create an environment which will promote harmonization between our cruise and air industries. This will require us to work with our cruise line partners for opportunities to establish Bermuda as a home port in the interest of revitalizing tourism activity and the economy. Despite the $900,000 decrease in TCD, this department via defunding funded vacant posts, overtime, and miscellaneous projects that have been pushed back to next year's budget, I am pleased to announce that the TCD will be able to maintain current level of service delivery standards. I would like to take the opportunity to thank the staff of DPT as well as the public for their support and understanding while we work to procure new buses and continue with recent recruitment drive, utilizing the impact of COVID-19 on our department to lay the work for a stable foundation and service. Our aim is that by next year, our commuters can be certain that all of our scheduled buses will arrive on time. It might be helpful to note that DPT currently operates with the lowest inventory and bus operators since the 1960s. The Department of Public Transportation will see a $2.8 million decrease achieved by defunding vacant posts, overtime, and reducing administration operating costs. Taking a page out of the COVID-19 handbook, we want to be operating in real time with real-world data. This includes implementing real-time digital fare media, add-ons, and Wi-Fi to the buses and ferries, which will help modernize the day-to-day experience for our commuting public. To say this past year has been tough is an understatement, and the impact on our day-to-day commuters has been unprecedented. Through it all, we were able to find $1.3 million from vacant posts as well as other operational savings resulting from curfew and lockdown periods to contract minibuses for dedicated school runs. This year, we will develop a schedule that not only is budget-friendly, but one that is sustainable, consistent, and reliable. Marine and Ports will see a $2 million decrease achieved by defunding funded vacant posts, overtime, and the reduction of operating costs. The reduced budget will not impact the upcoming III code. It is important to note that it is a result of defunded posts that we can meet the budget cash limits. But it is also meant that we can't do that without reducing some services. There will be a modified ferry schedule that is achievable within the budget. I am pleased to advise that the ministry will continue its commitment to invest in its people, infrastructure, and to enhance the work lives of both Marine and Ports and DPT staff. DPT will see $2.6 million in refurbishment and upgrades to the staff cafeteria, the paint booth, and bus washer at the Palmetto Road Depot, and a new operator's facility at the St. George's Depot, and renovations of the garage staff facility at the Fort Langton Depot, which are over 30 years old. There is also a $6.6 million allocation for new electric buses, which will improve the passenger experience and lower the amount of harmful emissions entering our atmosphere. This year, we will also move the Marine and Ports Workshop from the current locations in Hamilton and Dockyard under one roof at the location in Dockyard. This project will allow adequate physical workspace for a safer work environment for the workshop teams at the cost of $3.3 million. In closing, This budget allows the ministry to lay the foundation on which we can provide consistent, reliable, sustainable service that will be outlined in the soon-to-be released 2021 Mobility Strategy. This strategy will highlight top-level priorities within the ministry and the action plan to achieve them over the next 3 years. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Bermuda. I'm happy to join my colleague, Minister Scott, today to discuss the budget for the Ministry of National Security. I wish to provide a brief overview of some of the key focuses of the Ministry of National Security for this upcoming fiscal year. Along with the Ministries of Health and Education, the Ministry of National Security received one of the largest budget allocations for fiscal year 2021-22. However, our ministry budget has prudently been scaled back as we recognize the fiscal challenges that have been caused by the pandemic. Like other ministries, this will be a particularly challenging year for all of us. But I can assure the public that we are committed to ensuring that our residents are protected, that we are unwavering in our pledge in keeping our neighborhoods safe from violence, and that we are focused on ensuring that we have the right support in place to safeguard our community during times of national crises. The total budget for the Ministry of National Security is $122.6 million. This represents a 5% decrease from the previous year. It's important to note that our budget allocations are designed to help facilitate the promises we made in the government's throne speech. While our budget and our ministry is intricate, complex, and encompasses some critical areas such as police, the Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service, customs and corrections, and of course the Royal Bermuda Regiment, today I wish to highlight the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Mitigation Unit, the Royal Bermuda Regiment, the Gang Violence Reduction Team, as the Ministry of National Security has earmarked funds to support these sections in the upcoming fiscal year. As the public is aware, the DERM team, as they have fondly called, have worked tirelessly to assess the national risks and effectively coordinate targeted and tiered emergency responses. This year, the public can expect to see a formalization of the DERM unit. This will entail the introduction of disaster management legislation and the establishment of the Disaster Risk Reduction and Mitigation section within the Ministry of National Security. The legislation will set out the framework and lay the foundation for how disasters and national emergencies are declared and responded to in Bermuda. It will also codify the Emergency Measures Organization and establish the DERM section as the coordinators for the emergency planning, training, exercising, and response for all facets of the legislation. Additionally, this will enable the DERM team to broaden its scope and to mandate the work with our public and private sector partners to assess, advise, and mitigate against threats and risks. This includes, but is not limited to, working with our partners at the LF Wade International Airport to update the contingency plans that are required at all commercial airports, working with the Department of Health, Marine and Ports, the Bermuda Tourism Authority, and the authorities to review and assess the safest way to implement the return of cruise calls to Bermuda, reviewing and updating our cybersecurity protocols and best practices. Turning to the Royal Bermuda Regiment, as the public is aware, the regiment is an all-voluntary service, so we are very appreciative of the individuals who have chosen to serve. This year, our most recent recruitment camp, we had 48 men and women answer the call of duty. Our current recruitment numbers are up and retention remains high. Regarding the Bermuda Coast Guard, despite the overall budget reductions, this budget funds are promised to establish a full-time Coast Guard unit, which was created to provide enhanced safety and security on and in Bermuda's waters. We are seeking to hire an additional 5 full-time soldiers into the Coast Guard. This added contingent, in conjunction with more reserve personnel, ensures that the unit can provide the coverage required to meet its international obligations and support other agencies who operate in our surrounding maritime area. Personnel working in the Coast Guard are drawn from serving soldiers and those who are new to the military. They are all skilled Bermudians who are mandated to pass rigorous tests examining their physical, mental, and nautical suitability. Although the ultimate goal is to secure our exclusive economic zone, EEZ, with 24-hour Coast Guard personnel, the unit will now have the resources to effectively manage inshore waters out to 12-plus nautical miles, which is where a number of safety and security concerns have been identified. Finally, the Coast Guard is in the process of seeking international accreditation and has been working on strengthening its capabilities in conjunction with the Royal Navy and other external partners. The ultimate goal is to work in collaboration in regional initiatives with our overseas territories partners. Turning to the Gang Violence Reduction Team, our funding will go towards supporting these initiatives to help in reducing the violence in our community. This includes initiatives such as the GREAT program in our public schools, which provides youth with education and awareness that teaches life skills aimed at addressing antisocial behavior and crime. The Hype Kings program, which has a goal to reduce risk factors, enhance protective factors, increase academic motivation, and increase developmental factors in vocational skills and training. And finally, Work Placement and Mentoring Initiative, which is a paid work experience providing selected at-risk young people with opportunities for career exploration and skills development. The Gang Violence Reduction Team continues to be an important force in tackling gang violence. The team's goal is not only to bring peace and harmony within the various communities, but to assist with helping our vulnerable young people, individuals, and families become thriving members of our society. For our part, the Ministry of National Security will continue its priority of supporting the Gang Violence Reduction Team in its efforts of tackling the root causes of crime and working towards reducing violence in our community. In addition to all of this, the Ministry of National Security continues to work to complete our throne speech initiatives, such as the creation and implementation of a police authority. And although we had some setbacks this year, we were disappointed that the Bermuda Fire Service and the Department of Corrections, POA, didn't accept the government austerity measures. The government has still allocated funding for capital commitments, and with regards to the Bermuda Fire Service, we're looking to purchase a new ambulance, and with the Department of Corrections, we are taking a phased approach to the repairs to the long-standing maintenance issues. So despite the reductions, this budget keeps our promises and will deliver on our promises to the people of Bermuda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ministers, for your budget presentations. We would now like to turn it over to members of the media who may have any questions. Sekou, would you like to take the mic on World Gazette?
Good afternoon, Ministers. Thank you for having us. Minister Scott, you mentioned about 4 weeks ago that there was a groundbreaking project, really, that was going to be announced within the next 4 weeks. And given this update on the charter flights, I would just like to clarify: is this the groundbreaking piece that the ministry is hoping to put forward?
No, it is not the groundbreaking piece. That piece, due to just some unforeseen circumstances, will be pushed back by roughly another 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
We anticipate making the groundbreaking announcement sometime in the beginning of April.
The beginning of April. Okay. And if I may, what is this groundbreaking piece going to? What is it going to involve?
It will involve every aspect of the ministry's remit. So it will involve air, sea, and land transportation.
I see. Okay. And on the same note of sea transportation, you mentioned that you're hoping to bring in more cruise ships. How is the infrastructure of the island going to cope with, excuse me, with the influx of people? It's obviously going to affect things like taxis, transport, especially with the bus cancellations. That could probably prove a bit of a problem. So, how does the ministry plan to tackle this, or at least assist the infrastructure in working with the amount of people that's supposed to come in?
Well, first of all, we have close to 600 taxis, nearly 150 minibuses. And on top of that, we will have cruise season per week, or even in one day, will be half of that. And since we have the infrastructure to handle 10,000 people on any given day at our cruise ports, we definitely have the ability to handle 5,000.
I see. And obviously, with the elephant in the room of the pandemic taking place, how does the Ministry of Transport help to police things like keeping track of vaccinations, social distancing, things like that? Really, how are the logistics of having this influx of people going to work?
Well, as you know, that the industry or the mass transportation industry, air and sea, are looking to trend or are trending towards vaccinations. So therefore, the ministry is gearing up for a vaccinated influx of people.
I see. So the ministry is expecting people to be vaccinated before they come, before they reach the island.
That's what the trend is looking like, yes.
I see. I see.
And if that trend does not appear, the ministry is already working with the Ministry of Health on our existing testing regime, which is testing prior to getting on an aircraft or on a cruise ship, testing on arrival, and then testing via periods throughout the next 14 days if you are on island that long.
I see. And will there be any stricter precautions just to keep track? Again, this is going to be a lot of people, and if hypothetically they are not vaccinated, it could be, I imagine, at least a little bit difficult to keep more track of.
The Premier has mentioned that the industry is looking at electronic vaccination passports, and I would defer to the Premier to go into more detail about that, but he has already spoken on that, and I think he shared all the pertinent information.
I see. I see. Okay. That with the construction of the new airport, there was a minimum revenue guarantee expected. Is there any update on that payout?
No, the way that works is that Skyport will notify the airport authority of what they anticipate or what the MRG is, and then the airport authority will notify the ministry. The airport authority has not notified the ministry of receiving any such letter indicating if and or what that payout would be.
I see. Have they made any indication, or does the Ministry of Transport otherwise expect or have an estimate of when this could possibly come in?
It normally comes in at the end of the quarter,
The end of the quarter.
so that would be probably sometime in the first week or two in April.
I see. And is the Ministry of Transport expecting to make any sort of payouts at that point?
We would have to see once again we have to see what the payout is before we can make any obligations to pay it. But as it has been said before, this government is focused on making sure that we meet any and all obligations.
I see. Thank you. Minister Ming, good afternoon. Excuse me. The police department has also often received a lot of budget cuts. I was wondering, how is the police budget affected by the ministry's budget this year? Has it gone down? Has it stayed the same? Has it gone up?
Siku, the answer is just about every head that falls under the ministry has taken a reduction this year. What we've tried to do is be strategic and work with the department heads to ensure that there is no impact to people and services. But just about every budget head has taken some form of a reduction in funding this year.
I see. And how much, or how big, I should ask, is the reduction in the police budget this year?
I don't know the exact number at this time, but the ministry in itself has taken, as I read, 5% from year over year at this stage.
I see. It's taken about 5% from year
About a
to year.
5% cut,
Okay.
yeah.
So if there were a rough estimate of that for this year, what would that?
Department, or for the ministry, or
For the police budget, so approximately.
I don't have the specifics of that, but the ministry budget has had 5%, and so we've had to look within our various departments to reach our budget ceiling, which was 122 million point six.
I see. There's also been a spike in curfew breaches, and especially with the new curfew already put in place. Does the Ministry of National Security hope to have a crackdown on not only the curfew breaches, but also the applications for gatherings of more than 25 people?
At this time, we've now rolled back into curfew, so we did have a 2-week period where there was no curfew, and then effective yesterday, we've now rolled back into curfew. We have not put any stop on the large gathering approvals. Of course, we are scrutinizing them with a very careful eye, and we're hopeful that persons will make responsible decisions as they even look to have large gatherings.
Let's see. One other thing, the sale GP is bound to start in about 6 weeks. Are there going to be any stricter guidelines to help manage things like crowds or the movements of things like crews and things like that for when it comes over?
Yeah, what the ministry has done, and we did almost the same thing when we had the PGA to consider, was there's a team of people that are working together to come up with what those protocols look like, because at the end of the day, our job is to try and keep the island safe and healthy, and so the various ministries work together to devise the protocols that will be used to govern the actual event.
Let's see. And just really quickly, what do some of these stricter measures look like?
It would be like maybe something as, and I can only give you hypothetical because I'm not actively involved in it. I will review it, but they may say hand sanitization stations need to be at certain spots. It may have an allocation on what the maximum number of persons are that can attend the event. There's a lot that goes into looking at any event, and what you do is you do it on a collaborative basis. So although the government has a team of people that look, and like I said, their job is to keep the island safe and healthy, you work with the event planners as well so that expectations are managed, and they'll know exactly what protocols they'll need to follow for the event.
I see. Thank you. I actually have one more question, but this is actually for the both of you.
Surely.
Did you both support the cannabis legislation that went through the Senate today? How did you guys vote, and why did you vote the ways that you did? And were you surprised by the turnout, or the shutdown?
Well, as members of the cabinet, there's a collective responsibility in this. I think this question was asked of the premier when it passed in the House of Assembly. So you can go back and have a look at that. But the approval of the cabinet is collective.
It's collective.
Oh, well, yeah, no. Once again, my cabinet colleague did such an amazing job. But no, I do support the bill. I support bills that make provide opportunities for those that have otherwise been disenfranchised. I support bills that look to make sure that a level playing field is put in place for all persons who want to enter a marketplace. And that's what this government has been about being about Bermudians, for Bermudians, by Bermudians. And so, therefore, we were looking at things that are pushing the envelope, things that are thinking outside the box, and things that will help get this economy back up and running, not just to where we were in 2019, but to surpass that, to make sure that we are in a whole nother echelon when it comes to our economy and it comes to who participates in that economy. That is what the cannabis bill was essentially all about. And that's what this government stands behind, and that's what I stand behind, and that's what I support.
I see. So, were you surprised by the outcome of this?
Well, no, I'm not surprised by the outcome of it because of the way that our system is set up, right? In the sense that when you have an individual that can appoint senators in line with that of the opposition, that outnumbers that of the government, and they made it was made clear in the debate where their interests lied. So therefore, it was almost the writing was on the wall.
Seeker, thank you very much. This press conference was about budget. So that concludes today's press briefing. Any further questions regarding the budget, you can certainly send our way for response. Okay.
Thank you.